The moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerf Herder Chandler and Jim Kaiju Baker. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
Good morning.
Welcome back, everyone.
Woo! I feel like we've been on an extended hiatus.
We sort of have, even with the episodes that we've done recently, because this is our return to our tried and true two-movie format, which we've stepped away from for a while.
Yes. A lot more work. It actually requires that I go to the movies in the theater.
And they're longer episodes as well. So thank you for hanging in there for those of you that listen through to all of our episodes.
Yeah, you'll be thrilled to know there are news items. There's a concession treat. There is a backup feature. And then what else did we do?
All the good stuff.
So, yeah, and since it's been a while, I actually accomplished a lot. So
what brings us back to our normal tried and true format this week? Well, another Jurassic World movie. Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, whatever you want to call it, the franchise.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they kept the world. If you're doing a rebirth, and especially because some of the criticisms have been thrown at that last trilogy, just go back to this try, especially when you watch this movie. You're like, you might as well just have named it Jurassic Park Rebirth.
Or Jurassic Labs, you could have called
Jurassic
this one.
Labs. Yeah.
But yeah, Rebirth, as you said, is the subtitle of this movie. I lose track of these subtitles. It's just, you might as well give it a number. That would work better for me.
The one with Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
That's what you got to say.
That's the subtitle, ScarJo.
That is ScarJo in the jungle.
And our backup feature this week is another dinosaur, Pop Boiler, but this one featuring the effects of the great Ray Harryhausen.
Yes, on full display here.
The Valley of Gwangi.
Gwangi. You think that guy likes being called Gwangi? It's like, what if his name's like Bob?
It's the old lady that calls him Gwangi, right?
I know.
And then I guess it's stuck because then they made banners and everything else.
If a one-eyed gypsy old lady comes at you and starts screaming, I'd listen to her as well. So fair enough. Although it didn't work so well for Carlos.
No, and the little guy, the sidekick.
He was. They opened up the gate, and there he is in the mouth. I was like, oh, he's like a fun-sized tree.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, what kind of news do we have?
We actually have some news, surprisingly. Since we are talking dinosaurs, and we are kind of talking reboots, rebirth, whatever you want to refer to it as, well, however they want the nomenclature. We're going to go with the Netflix has announced they are going to reboot Land of the Lost. And I think this is very apt when you get into the our first movie, because there is a scene directly with a T-Rex chasing a bunch of kids and a family down a river in a raft.
Well, with our second movie as well, because everybody gets in a cave that's right at head level of the dinosaur. You know what?
I so took notes on that going, I wonder if that is a direct, like somebody who is Sid and Marty Crawford going, that's it. That's exactly how we escaped the Grumpy, as he was referred to. As we mentioned, original series was co-created by Sid and Marty Krofft, and they are attached as executive producers. But didn't one of them pass away?
Yeah, I'm not sure which. They also attempted this with a feature with Will Ferrell a few years ago.
It does not count.
At the time, I think that they were very hopeful that they would start off a franchise. And then maybe their other titles would make their way to cinemas, but that never happened because that was not a success.
I'm assuming you did watch that movie?
I did, yeah.
Okay. Probably the funniest part was Will Ferrell's book was Suck It, Matt Lauer. So if anybody doesn't know what Land of the Lost is, it was a very short-lived live-action Saturday morning show in which a family was marooned in a faraway land of the lost, actually. But all the dinosaurs were claymation. And I think that's what made it kind of fun.
Yeah, except for the close-ups, which were obviously puppets, like hand puppets. Yeah,
oh, sure. Well, and Chaka.
The little cave boy.
Hakuni. I believe that was what he would have.
The Slee Stack.
See, the Slee Stack is where you get interesting, because then there was like this weird alien metaphysical. There was like these chambers with diamond. I don't know what was going on there. It was the 70s. That's what I'm going to say. So I really hope they kind of lean into that and like pick up like a Phil Tippett Studios claymation, make it a little more fun. Part of Land of the Lost, the original, was the cheese factor, at least as kids.
Yeah, it was very much made right at our level. Yeah, it was Saturday morning, and that's what it was meant to be always. Yeah.
So I'm intrigued to see how this pans out, and if they go, like you said, that the Will Ferrell movie that came out a couple years ago, the dinosaurs are real dinosaurs. The Slee Stack, yeah, obviously they're people in costumes, kind of a thing, but I want them to have a little fun with it. It looks like Legendary's attached to this, and somehow they have a television production end of it.
Oh, I wonder if they're going to tie it to the Monsterverse.
That would be pretty cool. Oh, I do see Deanna Croft Pope is set to produce, so I guess that Marty Croft is the one who passed.
Okay.
So, but I will tell you, Will and Holly are still out there doing these conventions, and they'll show up and they'll throw their little life rafts on and jump in a big old yellow tube and take your picture with them
for a fee. They're going down the rapids.
Oh, sure. Look, I would happily pay a fee. If only they could get the guy who played Chaka to come out of retirement. I don't know whatever happened to him. And I think the dad, though, Spencer Milligan, he passed away. I think he was finally eaten by Grumpy.
I always used to think in my naivete as a kid that he was Mr. Brady.
He was, but he had the hair.
Yeah, he did have the hair. The late period Mr.
I'm
Brady
surprised
hair.
He didn't just have a surprise guest of the Brady Bunch showing up. So I just thought that was
yeah, we'll look forward to that.
We're leaning into the dinosaur aspect this week. So next news item that's been announced. Well, this has been announced a while ago, but I guess there's now a director attached. Ryan Reynolds is going to be making a live action version of Dragon's Lair.
The video game. The video game. I absolutely hated.
Don Bluth animated, super hard, frustrating. How many quarters did you piss away on this damn game?
Not many, because I realized
did you give up? Yeah.
It was just unplayable. It was not user-friendly at all. So It didn't respond to the joystick and the arcade. It was frustrating, as you said.
And every time you pressed a button, the guy just turned to a skeleton and you were screwed.
Yep.
Yeah. So this sounds interesting because Ryan Reynolds.
He's directing it?
No. So Ryan Reynolds is attached to play the main character. He, what's the main character's name?
Skeleton is his name. That's all you ever saw.
Guy. But he will be playing the main character. Dirk the Daring. So he was a knight who had to break into a castle, fight a dragon, and save the damsel?
Yeah, it was kind of like a choose-your-own-adventure almost kind of a thing where it was animation on the video game screen. So whatever you did, I guess, would prompt it to go to the next scene. Yep. Or if you did the wrong thing, you would die. And I never got past the first scene. So I'm thinking to myself, there's probably nothing else. There's this one scene, and then that second scene that you die, and that's it. And they're making a mint on this.
Yeah. Thing. Hey, I got an idea. Let's screw these kids out of the quarters. It was pretty impressive animation for a video game. It was leaps and bounds about what we had. I
wasn't inept at video games. I kind of thought of myself as a gamer.
I'll stick to Centipede. That game was too hard for me. Apparently, in 2015, Don Bluth and this Gary Goldman, who is going to be, he was co-creator. They crowdfunded a demo for an animated movie, but it never made enough money.
Yeah, it did seem like it was scenes from an animated movie that never was, you know.
Yeah.
So,
but as far as the director, so this guy James Bobbin is currently in talks to helm this, and he is acclaimed in the sense that he just 2011 and then again I think 2016 directed the reboot of the Muppets, and then Muppets Most Wanted. He's also credited with Dora and the Lost City of Gold, which was actually entertaining.
Did you put together that Dora from that movie is the girl from The Last of Us?
Is it Bella Ramsey?
No, the Bella Ramsey's girlfriend.
Oh, no. I did not put that together.
That's her. That's Dora.
Oh, I'm waiting for Boots the monkey to show up then in Last of Us. Mix a chocolate. So we're going to get that. And then finally, since we're talking reboots, again, Amazon. The Broccoli family sold the rights to James Bond to Amazon/MGM Studios. And apparently they are moving full force because Denis Villeneuve has been attached as director.
Who is the auteur behind Dune.
Of Dune. Yeah,
Yes.
I think they just started filming the third one. Yeah. So the interesting thing here, and I want to get your take, is that he has mentioned Bond will be in the 25 to 30-year-old range.
Well, you got to do that, right? Because if you're thinking of a long-term franchise and a long-term commitment by an actor, you don't want to start a guy off in his 40s. You're going to get 2-3 movies out of him at the most, because these things take like 2 to 3 years to make.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to, you don't want to go too young. I would be like early 30s would be probably the...
But is that too young to be a super spy, or are we going to see a James Bond Jr.?
Or is
which
it like
was
another
an animated series?
Well, when they started the Daniel Craig series, they kind
12?
of did it where he wasn't 12, but he was like James Bond getting his start. And by the time of his last movie, he was
I think you
James
need to
Bond.
get your sea legs before you actually become a 007.
Yeah. Or you could do like the Roger Moore route where you're like 40 when you start and you're like 70 when you end. I don't think anybody wants to see that.
I would think 40 would be at least like he's got some experience underneath him, but maybe we're going to see him at his infancy.
Yeah, because it looks like this tells me that they're in this for the long term, which I am okay with.
Okay. Are you okay with Tom Holland's name being thrown about?
That would never fly, I don't think. No.
For you personally, or you just don't think that is...
I wouldn't mind that because I like him, but I just don't see him in that role.
Yeah.
You can fly his name about. I don't think it's going to happen.
Oh, interesting.
The big one is what's his name? Kick-Ass. Aaron Taylor Johnson.
He's in everything though.
He
does charm the hell out of me every time I see him.
But that's the thing with Tom Holland is like he is so in the public eye.
As
Spider-Man, I don't want to say that he's typecast, but they're two huge names, both Tom Holland and Aaron Taylor Johnson. Those two, either of those guys being in that role might be a distraction.
Here's my initial reaction is Aaron Taylor Johnson is like enough. You're in everything, but he's mercurial and chameleon enough that I think that he could play it, and you wouldn't like immediately go, oh, that's that guy that was in that other thing, because every time we see him, he plays it like from Bullet Train. I just rewatched Fall Guy.
Yeah.
He's got a range. I did not watch Craven, so I can't comment on that.
I started Craven. I could not.
You couldn't Craven
hang.
it. You couldn't Craven it anywhere. Okay, well, I guess so. It looks like they are fast tracking this.
Mm-hmm. Well, they should. They should. What is the phrase? Poop or get off the pot. So there you go.
My mama always said. Yeah. Yep. So there you go. Those are my news items. If there's anything that you came across in the last month.
Yes, some RIPs. Mark Snow, who was the composer of the X-Files theme.
I did see that.
Has left us.
Passed.
One of the most recognizable themes in all of history.
Yeah. Our last night in Yosemite, we did a stargazing with an astrophysicist from the Fresno College. And it was fantastic. It was ridiculous. But yeah, he had a soundtrack playing with the X-Files music and stuff. And it was a lot of fun sitting outside. We actually saw Starlink go over. And it was about 40 different satellites all in a line. It was pretty wild. And
there's a second RIP, Julian McMahon, who was the first cinematic Doctor Doom.
This guy is my age. He's 56 years old.
And he's also, I know him best from the show Charmed.
Because wasn't he in Nip Tuck?
He was in Nip Tuck. I never watched that. But
no, neither did I. But
he was Alyssa Milano's demon boyfriend for several seasons in Charmed.
He got called back. That's sad. Being so young like that. We have to at least discuss a little bit some of the trailers we saw leading into Jurassic World.
I didn't
Rebirth.
watch Fantastic Four. Close my eyes.
Did you? Yeah, because it was the new trailer.
It was the new trailer. I don't need to see that before I see this movie.
I know. I'm still, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. It doesn't look like it's straying that far from the original Fantastic Four movie we got 20 years ago.
The goofy kind of tongue-in-cheek.
I still can't get over the Thing's voice.
I was okay with it, just listening to it.
So you listened to it.
This is the guy, he's got some creds, though, the Thing's voice. He was in season 1, Andor. Remember that great multi-episode arc of them breaking into the Imperial bank vault or whatever? He was the guy that Andor ended up having to kill because he wanted to steal the money with him at the end. And he's also from the cooking show.
The Bear?
Yes.
The Bear.
This guy's got creds.
That's fine. Listen, I don't know. I just got, 50 plus years of the Thing talking like this because he's got rocks in his mouth.
And he smokes a cigar.
He does. I bet you he doesn't smoke in this movie. Anyways, so there you go.
And he grows a beard. Have you seen photos of the Thing with a beard?
Hold on. You just said you didn't watch this trailer.
I wasn't going to
bring it up.
I've seen photos.
I don't know what to make of this. Apparently,
how do you shave?
Apparently, it has happened in the comic books. But I'm like, so he can't grow hair on the top of his head, but he grows a beard?
But it's not hair. It's like a rock beard. So you've got to chisel it off.
Dude, I have no effing idea. It's like Hellboy filing down his horns. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I honestly don't know what to make of it. Yes. What else did we see? So you skipped the trailer for Fantastic Four. Did you see this trailer for Project Hail Mary?
Yes.
Speaking of Ryan Gosling, looks fun. Looks interesting. Once again, you're giving me way too much. Stop showing me the whole damn movie.
Sun is consuming Earth, and he's the only one that has the knowledge to figure out why.
Him out there
so they send him out to some other star to investigate, because this star is not consuming its own planet. And I guess they knock him out, like Mr. T in the A-Team, and just send him up there.
Oh, that's right. He just wakes up.
He just wakes up there. Yeah.
See, they should have got Mr. T to do the voice of the Thing.
And then they say that he meets an alien up there. And I'm like, they could have ended it with him just going up.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Stop giving me all this info. Because now it's just the abyss. Now it's just, there's aliens out there? Didn't see that coming. Yeah. I will tell you this. My movie theater, I was up in Lake George, and I went to a super early Thursday morning, July 3rd, and my theater was jam-packed. I picked a seat thinking it was in the back of the theater, and it was in the front.
What?
So I was only, so when you go to a Regal and you're sitting at the screen, and this shows you the seats, the screen at my Regal, the screen is always at the top. So I can pick my seat based on facing. So and this one was in reverse, and I guess I didn't even think about the
That's
row
funny,
number
because mine is always at the bottom. So
how bizarre.
Yeah.
So anyways, I get there and I'm like 2 rows back, but it was jam-packed. And I had 2 boys unattended, about 12 years old, came in, sat next to me. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm going to watch a dinosaur movie with these kids. And we saw the 50th anniversary Jaws trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't flinch. They didn't move. They didn't react in any way, shape, or form. And I'm like, oh, these kids are jaded. And the friggin' shark comes out of the water. Nope, no reaction whatsoever. So I'm like, oh, they're going to be duds.
Were they?
They had a couple fun reactions in the dinosaur movie itself. So, a Naked Gun. Did you get the PSA? with Liam Neeson I don't really know what to make of this either, but I do want to mention my son sends me a text the other day and he goes, Liam Neeson is in my hospital right now. I'm like, what? So apparently his dog got hit by a car. And so he brought him in. We
got to quantify. Your son works in an animal hospital.
Yes, he works in an animal hospital. Yes, in Brewster. Big animal hospital. And Ben saw him, didn't meet him, but one of his friends took a picture with him. So, and I'm like, wow, they can really do a lot with makeup nowadays because he's pushing it.
Well, he's up there, but they are definitely going the deadpan route.
Well,
so it's not like he's Leslie Nielsen with a joke up his sleeve for every single occasion. Yeah,
I think by the time that Leslie Nielsen, because he'd already come off Airplane and some of that other stuff, so and I'm still like, I don't know if I'm going to buy this. But when the PSA came on and he was talking about being quiet, and then he said popcorn is for sale, and the popcorn's also free on the floor. You're more than welcome to all of it. You know, it's just like, all right, that's kind of.
But funny. It looked like he was reading off a cue card.
Yes, correct.
His eyes were off screen the entire time.
They probably pulled him off set for like a 2-minute stupid. All right, we got to do this. It's part of your contract. He's like, what? The only other trailer I want to say that I was super excited for, we got just a little snippet, is Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey.
If anybody should be directing a James Bond movie, it's him.
Ooh. You can have it out with Mr. Villeneuve. I am super excited for this movie.
I'm going to say something controversial now about The Odyssey. Sure. Punisher, John Bernthal. He's kind of the same to me in every movie that he's in. He's one of those actors where.
Oh no! What was that motorcycle movie? We talk like this.
That was Tom Hardy.
Oh, that was Tom Hardy. I can't even get him straight.
You can't even give him credit for that.
Nope. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So they didn't give us much on the Odyssey, but it's enough to whet my appetite. I'm very excited for that. I did want to see at least one monster, but nothing. Just a guy floating in the water, a voiceover.
All that stuff led up to our viewing of, drumroll, Jurassic World Rebirth, which starts with 17 years ago. And you're thinking 17 years ago from now, from the events in the last movie, from, when is this?
Yeah, that was, you weren't really sure.
So, it's a busy lab, right? And if you've ever seen any of these movies, it's a dinosaur lab.
How many islands did Hammond have going?
I don't know.
How many movies can we just, we found another island that had some dinosaurs on it?
Ile St. Hubert, this one is. So I don't know how far this one was from the original park, but they probably say it at some point.
I don't know. I didn't write it down, but they did give you like some kind of a coordinates off the coast or something.
Well, you don't know what this place is in the beginning of the movie when you see it. It's explained a little bit later that this lab in the prologue is where they're doing genetic experiments. They're combining species of dinosaurs. And the reason they're doing this is public interest is waning in dinosaurs, and they want to give the audience something new. So and this has the most lax security, inept workers.
Yeah,
and
this is a theme. Snicker wrapper.
This is a theme throughout this movie, by the way. Inept people.
Inept. Well, that's every alien movie. I will tell you right now, the mishmash. So Gareth Edwards, who does have a pretty substantial oeuvre behind him, is directing this.
Well, the last thing we did or we saw from him was The Creator, right?
The Creator, yep.
Of course, Godzilla. Of course, Rogue One. Yeah. And apparently, since The Creator, he's been working on, dream projects of his own that he wanted to get off the ground. And he said as soon as they approached him with a Jurassic World movie, he dropped everything. He's such a big fan of the franchise.
Well, the fact that you had David Cope, who wrote this and also wrote the screenplay for the first two, the original Jurassic Park and Lost World, you're like, it's a no-brainer. I need to be a part of this. So, but just like Alien Romulus, where you're like, all right, this guy sat down, he watched all these movies, and he just pick and chose from every one of those. Like, you can tell that he went into rewatching the original Jurassic Park and just pick and chose a bunch of these little scenes that just give these callbacks, these little homages, these little nods to the original. but it's more than that. Like
it is. I think that's by design, that they tried to get the flavor of the originals, but unfortunately, a lot of movies these days, like Force Awakens, tried to get the flavor of the original Star Wars, but in doing so, they ended up copying the outline of the original Star Wars.
No, I literally wrote in my notes, it's Jaws meets Aliens, meets Skull Island, meets Indiana Jones, meets Star Wars.
Meets TMI, because we're doing an episode on it.
Meets TMI.
But the opening scene is promising because it does give you the jump scare, right? Yeah. Even though the guy's an idiot and he deserves it. He's like the Dennis Nedry of this movie, the lab worker eating his Snickers bar, and he just drops the wrapper.
Just drops the wrapper
on the floor as the door to the highly volatile and pressurized chamber opens. And of course, as he walks in, the wrapper flows in with him, just floats in, just like Forrest Gump's feather, and gets sucked into a vent a la Polar Express and shorts out the entire lab. So, so now the doors that happen to be stuck open are to the chamber of the biggest, baddest dinosaur that is in this lab, which is a cross between a T-Rex and something else.
They label
him xenomorph,
as a T-Rex. He's a Distortus Rex. You don't really see him later on. I did have that. Gareth Edwards said that he did lean in heavily on the xenomorph design and the Rancor from Star Wars.
Yeah,
as influences for a lot of this.
I was thinking xenomorph.
With the big bulbous head.
Yep.
So I actually thought because of the Snickers connection that he was a Hangrysaurus. No.
Too bad I don't have a groaning sound effect.
I will say the candy product placement in this movie is over the top.
Because as you're looking at it, it's like, what would be good right now is a Snickers bar. And
Snickers satisfies.
Yeah.
He couldn't get the Snickers, so he ate the guy instead.
At least he had a nice last meal before the dinosaur got him.
I hope he was satisfied.
Maybe the dinosaur got a taste of it too.
He's like, chocolatey on the inside, hard crunchy on the outside.
So the D-Rex gets him. And it's a big jump scare when the chamber, because the guy's pounding on the door once he realizes he's locked in and nobody's going to let him out.
No, that girl's like, I ain't open that door.
And then it's all misty behind him and you see the form come out of the mist and bang, grab him.
Yeah. Distortus Rex is the
Distortus Rex.
So is this where they make the Indominus Rex? Because we've already seen mutant dinosaurs before.
Well, was that like a naturally occurring mutant?
No, they genetically engineered him.
Okay, so maybe it's the same lab.
Specifically for this purpose.
Well, if that's the case, then that's a missed opportunity. They should have tied that together with some kind of line, a throwaway line of dialogue.
I don't know. Right. I don't know what the timeline is, because you're saying that it's a lab 17 years ago that's trying to create these hybrids. But again, we've already seen that in Jurassic World with the Indominus Rex. Spliced together and genetically created specifically for that reason, which is people are getting bored of the real dinosaurs.
And they're getting so bored, people don't even care that they're like around in society anymore. They're more of a nuisance than anything else.
Well, I think they would be a nuisance. At the beginning of the movie, there's a giant brachiosaur in the blocking
and he's
traffic.
Clogging traffic. Yeah, because they're all dying because they are not used to the non-tropical, non-prehistoric climate.
Right. So at the end of, what was it, Jurassic World Dominion? Was that the third?
That was the last one. Yeah.
Okay. That they were loose on the world. They were just running amok. And now we're told, they all pretty much died out. They couldn't handle the atmosphere. They couldn't handle the
weather.
Food. There was no food chain or the weather. And there's only a handful of them that are thriving, and they're only around the equator.
Yes, because that's the most primordial weather that we have is down there. So that's where they thrive.
Okay.
So enter your bad guy, your Paul Reiser, if you will.
Yes. Oh, he is Burke. He is absolutely Burke from Aliens.
So he's the big pharma, the big bad pharma representative. Rupert Friend as Martin or Krebs or whatever you want to call him.
Martin Krebs. I think they didn't really call him much of anything. That guy. Later on, the girl was just like, that guy.
That guy killed me. almost.
Tried to kill him. Yeah.
But yeah, so he tracks down ScarJo, who is playing a character named Zora.
Zora. That's a badass name right there. She's a mercenary with a heart of gold.
Yes, you got it. When you hire your mercenaries, you got to look further into it. If they got a heart of gold, that's not somebody you want.
No, I think he never made it past her chest size. I'm pretty much sure he was like, she's my girl.
Yeah, neither did I. But going. So yeah, he hires Zora.
Yep.
Because this big pharma company, and he's actually not lying. He's actually telling the truth.
No, he tells her exactly what he needs her to do. We need to break into this.
Because usually when somebody hires you, the story they give you is actually a lie to hide what they actually want. Correct. But that's not the case here. He's straight up. So he's like, okay, we are researching and we think that we could end heart disease. The reason being is because our research tells us that the biggest dinosaurs lived for centuries and they never died of heart disease. So we need blood samples from living creatures.
You know why they live so long? Because they weren't eating Snickers.
Because they were in rock bands. Look at Keith Richards.
He does keep going, man.
Yeah.
He's
you need to take his blood from one of those little parachute things.
I would pay to see that movie
before he shoots you, because he's always
need to hunt down.
Keith Richards is always packing. You need one of those little parachute things to get his blood. If he's got any in there, it'll just be like dust coming.
Oh, it's dust.
So they need living blood from 3 dinosaurs. Yes. 3 of the biggest.
This is genius. On paper, this is genius because you need a Mosasaurus, which is in the water. You need a Titanosaurus, which is on land, and you need the Quetzalcoatl, which is in the air. So it's like you got 3 different adventures going on.
All you got to do is look in the Chrysler building for that one, because it's got a nest up there.
Cute.
The Quetzalcoatl.
Quetzalcoatl.
And also, you've got a mission as well. So audiences can be they've got the first one. They're one down, 2 to go.
So it's like a countdown, yeah.
And they say when the big pharma guy comes to Zora with this offer, it's 32 years since the dinosaurs returned. So does that mean 32 years since Jurassic Park or since Jurassic World opened? I don't know.
I would have to say when Jurassic Park went online for about a day. Never really went online.
Yeah. So they've got to head to the equator, this one area in the equator where
we got to pick up a dino expert first, though.
Where the activity is rampant. Yes.
Yeah.
So they go to museums. But again, you want to get the most jaded dinosaur expert you can, not this guy who is going to change everybody's mind.
Yeah, I was going to say this guy is super sexy, but you just put like the nerd glasses on him and supposedly he's like, he's bookish, but it's like, oh, this guy's a heartthrob here. I'm even falling for him. But why? So you see that the museum is being dismantled. They're taking down all the dinosaur displays, which are just skeletons, which is what we've known. But you've had live dinosaurs on the planet for how many years now? No, I wouldn't want to go to a museum just to see the bones.
Yeah, you'd think that this would have come down a long time before this movie.
Yeah, but no.
But did you note that the guy's name is Henry?
Oh,
so Henry. I think that's a nod.
So his last name is Loomis. Does that mean he's Dr. Loomis from Halloween?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. I think you're reaching on that one.
Well, no, I think everything is everybody's name is in there for a reason.
Zora's last name was Bennett. But the nice thing I thought was good was, for the most part, like there was no call outs to end. Alan Grant was the only call out character.
Yeah, because
from the previous movie.
There's it's a throwaway line of dialogue. Oh yeah, I worked under Alan Grant. So anybody that is Jurassic Park minded will say, oh
yeah,
Sam Neill.
But we do find out that Zora's looking to kind of like retire. Like she didn't want
Of course, it's her last job. Every single one of these mercenaries in a movie, it's their last job.
This is my last job. But they did dangle $10 million in front of her. Mm-hmm. So it's a hell of a way to go out. But we find out that her partner was killed. And I'm like, oh, please tell me he was killed in Budapest. But no, it didn't happen. That didn't happen.
Her other partner is alive and kicking.
Oh, Duncan,
but I'm just...
Go ahead, say his name.
I am...
Because I'll be damned if I can pull it off.
Mahershala Ali.
Oh,
I'm just going to call him Blade from this point on.
There you go. I don't even know if that's going through anymore. I just read that Marvel, they sold all the costumes for this Blade remake. half the costumes that were in the movie Sinners came from the Blade.
Oh, well, that's not good.
No.
He'll always be Blade to me. What could have been? But he is a co-worker, I guess, for lack of a better term, of Zora, who's done jobs with her before. So she gets him because he's got his own boat. And there's a few other people on the team as well, on the mercenary team.
Are immediately going to be eaten.
Well, Ed Skrein, who is... just looking at this guy, he could never play a likable character. He does not have that look about him. He's the bad guy from the first Deadpool, if you remember.
Yeah.
He was in the Rebel Moon movies as the bad guy commander. This guy you'll never see him as a good guy. So he's getting taken out the minute that you see him.
You want him to be taken out.
Yeah.
And this Krebs, this Rupert friend, like you're just counting down the minutes before he gets eaten. Yeah,
because of course he's got to go on the mission to make sure everything is okay, and then we have the heartthrob paleontologist.
Yeah, and there's a fun little scene when they first get to the island off the coast, and you meet Duncan, and they do this little con to get the guy to pony up more money, and I thought that was kind of cute. It's like, dude, you didn't see that coming?
But he didn't care. He's like, yeah, whatever. I'll give you all the money you want.
You probably could have asked triple.
Yeah.
Right.
But then you get introduced to the stupidest character in the entire franchise. This dad who's bringing all of his kids.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the boyfriend, because he was a piece of shit.
No, it's the dad, because it's the dad who agreed to let this boyfriend on the boat in the first place.
Yeah, no, that is you are correct, because we all know what he's doing down there underneath the deck with your daughter.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're just letting it happen. Plus, you're sailing right into the most dangerous waters ever known to mankind.
You would think that they would know, right?
Yeah. And he's surprised when he sees a dinosaur pop up on the horizon.
Well, the sail, right, because you get the Spinosaurus, and they're like, what is that? What is that? Did you not read the brochure? Yeah, the dinosaurs.
So if there was anybody I wanted to see taken out, even more than the Paul Reiser guy, was the dad. Just
with those sexy short shorts.
For his moment of realization before he gets chomped on.
I wish he had been eaten just
idiot.
Because of those shorts that he chose. Yeah, I'm going to go on a family vacation wearing these.
I'm going to take my little girl and I'm going to dangle her, as bait to get some dinosaur pictures.
Honey, can you hang on to the back of this rope while I drive you? Yeah, so, immediately attacked by a mosasaurus.
So, and what were they doing? They were sailing across the Atlantic or something?
They were doing something from point A to point B, yeah. They were just traveling through. I don't know. Mom's taking away all of his visitation rights. I know that.
Oh, this guy deserves no visitation. It's got to be monitored visitation, if anything. They get attacked. The ship capsizes, Poseidon Adventure style. They're all sitting on the back. So this was very Jaws 2. I did like this sequence.
Absolutely. I loved it.
But like specifically Jaws 2, when, all the kids are adrift on the sailboats that are all broken down. And, these dinosaurs are big enough just to, get them at any time.
Oh, it could have just eaten the whole boat. It could have just landed, especially later, because the Mosasaurus is literally breaching out of the water and could have just come down on that sailboat at any time.
Yeah.
So I will say this is where, because up to this point, you're on board with the mission and the mercenaries. Then all of a sudden we get this second storyline with this family. And I'm like, all right, were these two different storylines at one point? And then someone was just like, why don't we just merge these together? Because why else is a little kid suddenly on one of these Jurassic islands?
Yeah, exactly. And when they get to the island, they're broken up again. So it's two separate stories going on.
And you could do one without the other.
Yeah.
Not until the end when they're reunited. Even then, once they're reunited, it doesn't really change the story arc for any of the characters.
No.
They both have an end. All right, we know that there's a compound here on the island. We just need to get to it. And we were told there's a helicopter.
And it didn't take the family for Zora to have her change of heart. It was because of the dreamy heartthrob guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Who was like, hey, what if we just keep this for everybody? So I don't get paid
at all. Yeah.
I don't like that at all. I don't like that. I can have a heart of gold and a full bank account.
But this is where we get introduced to the aerial biopsy system, which I thought was very cool. So they have dart guns, that they are supposed to shoot at the dinosaurs. The dart lands in the dinosaur, sucks the blood out like a mosquito.
Like a giant mosquito,
and then it rockets off the dinosaur and then parachutes to safety. Just like one of your little army men from back when you were a kid.
Yeah, but somehow it comes right back to your hand.
Yeah, like a boomerang. It comes right back.
Right, but you have to be like, what, 10 meters in order to be effective? Like they had to be right on top of that.
Yeah.
Mosasaurus. And like you said, that whole chase scene where so they get the distress signal from the family. And they decide we need to abandon this mission and we need to go rescue these people.
This is where Big Pharma is like, maybe I chose the wrong mercenaries.
Yeah, he's like, what are you talking about? We have a mission. I'm paying you, supposedly. So they go and they rescue the family. But they're being chased by this mosasaur. And she's, like you said, she's strapped to the front of the ship and all she's just trying to shoot it.
Yeah.
Not
very, very
want
Quint vibes here, with
this
Jaws.
is actually a very fun sequence.
It is. It was my favorite sequence in the movie because I love the water-based monsters.
It is so Jaws influenced. There's even a shot when we're first introduced to Duncan and they're sitting in the bar and the Burke character, the pharmaceutical guy, is sitting with the giant set of jaws behind him, so his head is almost like encompassed within the jaws. It was kind of a cool, because there's that shot in Jaws as the orca's leaving the port and Spielberg shoots the camera through the jaws that are hanging on the wall. Little things like that I thought were fantastic. Just these little callbacks.
It was fun. It was a fun sequence.
Yeah.
The mosasaur takes them out. So they
have to. He's chasing them into the shallows, and they end up crashing the boat. And like you said, they get separated again because the daughter starts to fall into the water, and pharmaceutical guy lets her fall.
Yeah,
because she's trying to call the SOS.
Yes, because
the
pharmaceutical guy does not want to endanger the mission.
He's like, you need to go, little girl. So we know he's a piece of crap.
Yep. So the family ends up on one part of the island because the boat hasn't capsized yet when they go off of it. And then the mercenaries are on another part of the island. So they're now they both know, because of the exposition given to us, that there's like a centralized town, like abandoned, but an abandoned town on the island. So they are both making their way towards that. Yeah. We get, various encounters with dinosaurs along the way. So we have our mosasaur blood, because that was a success. Yeah. With that one, would have been the most difficult, I would have imagined, to get the blood from, because what if it went underwater before the thing popped off?
Yes,
then
correct.
It would would have been in vain.
But it did, and that was the easiest.
The next one is the Titanosaur, right?
Yeah, which is really this is such an homage to the opening of Jurassic Park again.
Yeah,
when Alan and what's her name first see the Brachiosaurus.
Dr. Loomis is looking up at Wonder, and he's touching the leg of the Titanosaur.
Just stab it.
I would have loved to just see like a big dinosaur crap come down. It would have been, I'm not just saying that to be facetious, it would have been a great comic moment if that had happened.
There's not a lot of humor in this movie. Yeah, that would have been funny.
Because he was standing right under it.
Right underneath it. As they were about ready to make love, it's like, we're getting some dino sex.
Yeah, because they were nuzzling, the two Titanosaurus. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, in Lost World, where you got all your guys roaming through that neck-high corn, and you remember the sequence where the velociraptors are closing in on them, and you just see you don't really see the velociraptors, you're just seeing the bushes and everything kind of like part ways as these animals are making. And I kept waiting for them to be attacked by these things, but didn't happen. To be honest with you, we don't get velociraptors at all.
Well, no, there's one that's about to jump on Xavier as he's peeing, but it gets...
Oh, that is true. There was two of them. Yeah, that's a throwaway scene with the pterosaur comes in and
picks him off. It's very much like the T-Rex saving the day by chomping down on the velociraptor, but it's a pterodactyl or whatever flies in and picks it off.
Yeah, it was a pteranodon.
So now that they've got two dinosaurs, they've got to climb the mountain to get to the Quetzalcoatl, the last one, to its nest. And they get to the nest, and it's in like some ancient cave that was.
Yeah, this is like I said, this is like Indiana Jones. All of a sudden, it's like I got to take the temple. I got to steal the idol, but it's a dinosaur egg. Which up until this point, we weren't told that he needs to extract from the egg itself, not the actual bird.
But they do it, and they have a fight with the bird, of course. But So, and by this time, it's only, Blade, Zora, and the doctor and pharma guy. So the 4 of them.
Yeah, just 4 of them.
Yeah. And in the meantime, another great sequence that was cut from the original, you go back to the family who's on the other side of the island, also trying to make their way to the town. And there's that raft sequence with the swimming T-Rex.
Yeah, this is straight up Land of the Lost, where the dinosaurs just chase him in the water. But you're right, this was in the original novel, and they cut it. I will say, I wish my car was made out of that polypropylene plastic, because that T-Rex is chomping down on that raft, and yet it's still floatable.
Yeah, you know how when your dog play chomps on you and it doesn't break the skin? It's kind of like that. He knew it wasn't something he wanted to eat, so he's just like, eh.
But it was a cool sequence because the little girl's trapped underneath there.
The visual of the swimming T-Rex is very cool.
Yeah.
Again, talk about Jaws as the T-Rex is circling the raft.
Yeah. And he just swims in front of them and waits for them. And now this T-Rex is substantially bigger than the one that we saw in Jurassic Park, I felt.
Yeah, it did look like that. And we see it taking a siesta as well. Taking a nice little nap.
Yeah, that was odd. Yeah. How does he even get up?
Yep.
You would think once he lays down, you'd never get him. He's like a weeble. So yeah, that was actually a very fun sequence as well.
Mm-hmm. So eventually they make their way to the lab, right? So, and the lab has like its own little gas station convenient mart.
That's what I'm saying.
Outside.
It's like the amount of candy that's still sitting there 17 years later.
And who delivers to them? Like their chips and their candy.
UPS shows up in a boat.
Yeah, I guess so.
A brown boat.
They're making some bank overtime, those UPS guys.
There you go. So, but it's like the town is on a timer because all the lights come on at a certain point.
And the music comes on?
Yeah. We got a soundtrack up to this.
So, like, did the dinosaurs come to listen to the music? Is that?
Well, I think that after a while, they just like, oh, it's false. There's nothing going on over there. They keep turning it on every night. But this is where I felt up to this point, we've seen nothing but our standard dinosaurs. And we've been kind of sold on the idea that they've got these mutant dinosaurs, but we don't see them until the end. And there's only 2 of them. You see them in the opening sequence. You see the name on one of the things, Mutadon, which is a pterosaur velociraptor mix. And then you have the D-Rex, which is this big, huge monstrosity.
Which was the big chap, as they called the xenomorph, the big chap of this movie.
Yes, yeah.
The main boss. So, and it's the same thing that kills the Snickers guy at the beginning, but you don't really see it in the beginning. But it reveals at the end. And he's got
6 forearms?
Yeah, he's got little arms that are dangling out of his stomach. So
and then he's got these big ones that are literally look like the Rancor hands.
Yeah. So you get the impression that maybe these things didn't survive, after they were created. So the other dinosaurs that we see are probably ones that just made their way down here from civilization.
They take a train?
No, they swam, they flew, planes, trains, automobiles. Nature finds a way.
That is true. There you go. Say no more. I'm already overthinking it. Yes.
So happy ending. All involved. Pharma gets killed.
Not the helicopter rescue crew.
No, those 4 people. So that's the reason they're making their way to the lab, is that ScarJo.
Zora had set something in motion that she had a 2-minute window. They were going to come and
pick them up
if something happened, because they don't have a boat. They're now trapped on this island. So it's actually a really fun reveal, because you think the helicopter's flying away. They get off a couple flare shots. The helicopter's like, oh crap, there are people down there. And you see them turn around. You're like, oh, here they come. And then out of the mist comes this damn monster with the helicopter in his mouth. And you're just like, oh, that's not going to end well. That was fun. They're underneath in the drainage ditches or the underground tunnels. And this Mutadon thing is chasing them. And it just looks like a velociraptor, but with wings, pterodon wings, and like a big jowl.
Yeah, so this whole sequence was very much a callback to the raptor.
Oh, the kitchen sequence.
In the kitchen, yeah, chasing the kids through the ducts.
Yeah, more candy, though. That's all.
Yep, yeah.
Yeah.
And Paul Reiser gets it because he tries to take the suitcase with the samples.
Yes, because they now have. So the whole thing was every time they got one of these capsules, it went into like this suitcase. You would think that, I mean, the blood is warm. It's room temperature blood.
All they need is like the Barbasol can, and we know that.
Shackles it to his wrist, but that doesn't really help.
No.
When he gets chomped on.
So then we think that Blade has been killed in a moment of sacrifice. So everybody can.
He pulls a Ian Malcolm.
Yep, he grabs the flare and he distracts the big D-Rex so everybody else can get away.
Over here.
Yep.
Yeah, when you mentioned that the little girl finds this little dinosaur and befriends it.
Dolores.
Oh, that is the dinosaur's name.
She named it Dolores. Yeah,
Dolores.
Did they end up taking that with them? Was it there with them?
I want to say at the end it was sleeping with her on the boat.
That's going down the toilet. This
whole ending ruined it for me. Because they get off the island, they find another Kodiak boat with a motor on it. And so they leave the island and they go right back out in the water where the mosasaur is that they tried to escape the first time. You're just going right back into the food chain. These Spinosauruses are out there waiting for you.
Well, otherwise they can't really do much else. They're either stuck on the island or they go.
I know, but it was a happy ending. Like they were flying away. Yeah, we made it. It's like I wanted to see the mosasaur just come up and eat them all.
That's what could have been the post-credit sequence that never was.
That never was.
Yeah.
No, but as you said, Zora decides that they are not going to hand us over to the pharmaceutical company. They're going to somehow make this themselves and then give it to everybody.
Blade is down with this as well, so everybody agrees to give up their share of the money to be philanthropists.
Yeah. And as opposed to pelicans flying by the helicopter at the end, we just get a pot of dolphins. It's like it literally is beat for beat almost the original Jurassic Park.
But that's not a bad thing.
I agree with you.
I actually thought that this was a very nice ride. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it more than I did any of the Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard Jurassic World movies. So I think it was a return to form.
I agree. I think this is a worthy successor to the original Jurassic Park.
Yeah, it gets back to the nitty gritty. It brings it right back to that down and dirty. You're alone in the jungle with these dinosaurs on their turf.
Yeah, that scene, like you mentioned, when Xavier excuses himself to go relieve, and his back is turned to as two velociraptors are sneaking in on him, and then that pterosaur just comes down and snatches the one away, and he's like oblivious to it. Like the jungle's gonna kill you. There's you never know what's out there. So at one point there was like a snake-like thing in the water, and I'm like, yeah, just kill me now. I don't want to. I'm not gonna. You could tell most of this was filmed in Malta and Thailand, and you could tell, but it was. Yeah, it was fun. I agree with you. You kind of know what you're getting into with these movies, and I thought it was. I enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah, and just like the culture at large in the movies, it's said that they're sick and tired of seeing dinosaurs, and maybe movie audiences were as well. But this, I think, brings it back to that awe, the shock and awe of the original Jurassic Park.
But I think what's nice about this is that they're not looking at it as a trilogy, or am I wrong?
I don't think so. This is very much a standalone. I can't see how they would continue the story with these characters. No. Unless, they make a really boring movie about how they multiply the blood samples and bring it to the world. Nobody wants to see that.
Now we got mutant humans running around eating dinosaurs. Yeah, no, but this is a worthy summer escapism flick.
So as we said, Gareth Edwards dropped everything to do this. Apparently, Scarlett Johansson lobbied for this role because she is such a fan herself.
She's wanted in as well.
Yeah. So she wasn't the first choice. They were courting other actresses for this, and she found out about it and stepped right in.
Yeah. She wasn't wearing high heels.
Not a high heel to be seen.
Nope.
I don't think Zora does high heels.
No, I don't think so. after watching it, I'm like, oh, it was actually entertaining. I liked it.
And I'm glad to see that it's doing so well at the box office. It exceeded expectations.
Well, that's good.
I think they projected it to be like a 80 million haul over the 4th of July weekend, and I think it hit 85 in actuality. And they're looking worldwide at 150 million haul just on its opening weekend.
Okay. Well, they have to do that because, I mean, Superman's right on its heels the following weekend. So the
budget was 180 million, so it's well on its way to making back its money.
And I will say that's actually relatively cheap now compared to some of these movies.
Yeah, you look at that, and that seems low when you look at some of the other movies that we cover. Some of these cinema scores only give it a B.
Yeah, there's some mixed reviews going in. I saw on IMDb, there's a lot of negative Nellies out there who are like, I was bored, I didn't like it. It's like, okay.
Yeah, Hollywood Reporter says Jurassic World Rebirth is unlikely to top anyone's ranked franchise list, but longtime fans should have a blast.
So there you go. It's a backhanded compliment, but compliment nonetheless.
Pleasurable, though it doesn't linger, says Empire.
Doesn't linger like what? I can't get the stink of this dinosaur off me.
Yeah. Popcorn buckets out of 5, because that's our rating system. I'm going to give it 3 3/4.
I'm going to go just above you. I'm giving it 4. 4 buckets.
Full popcorn buckets.
Yes. Yeah. Jurassic popcorn buckets. I will tell you, it amazes me now when I walk into Regal and it looks like the end of Suncoast.
Yeah.
Just T-shirts and popcorn buckets and souvenir cups, and you take your picture with the dinosaur. And, they got it all there. Yeah, wait until that Galactus $80 bucket drops.
You can keep that popcorn bucket just to sit on a shelf and gather dust. Come on.
Yeah, apparently. I don't know. So yeah, I enjoyed this. I really did. I don't know how many more movies they can crank out where they just keep finding new islands, but this is a standalone movie I enjoyed.
It sounds like we both highly recommend it. So if you are a fan in any way of the Jurassic movies, then go see it, especially in a theater, because it is big and it deserves to be big.
Like I said, my theater was filled for an early morning showing the day before July 4th. And I'm thinking to myself that, wow, either a lot of people want to see this, or because it was rainy out and all these people are camping in Lake George, they're like, we need to get these kids inside somewhere for 2 hours. So, but like I said, the two boys next to me, for the most part, were nonplussed in any of the Jaws activities, but they hoot and hollered a couple times with the dinosaurs. So I was happy to see that they were engaged.
All right, so shall we go to the concession stand?
Yes, because I am hungry now.
Now,
all the snack talk.
The dinosaur of our second feature is kind of what inspired this.
Oh,
but I guess I was mistaken because I misremembered the color of the Allosaurus.
In the movie reason, or the real Allosaurus?
I think, well, who knows what they're... Can we tell what color they were? I don't think so.
No, we can't even decide whether or not they had feathers. Which, most of these dinosaurs, the way they're represented, we've already know for a fact didn't look like that. There's videos on YouTube about the T-Rex never screamed like that. More than likely, probably cooed like a bird.
Oh, that'd be cute, right?
It is. Yeah, not quite correct. Not quite as intimidating. Yeah. Suddenly, he's the bird at the end of A Bug's Life. So yeah, we don't know for sure. But Gwangi is purple. Gwangi
is purple, and I misremembered him being red. And Gwangi is an Allosaurus.
Yes, correct.
So in my little plastic figure bag of dinosaurs when I was a kid.
Yep, we all had one.
And that's all you had back then. There's no articulation, right? You had to just kind of jam them together if you wanted them to fight. Yeah. But the T-Rex...
Or make love like the Titanosaurus.
Oh, the T-Rex in my bag always fought the Allosaurus, right? Because they're almost as big as each other.
Candies, yeah.
And I think my Allosaurus was red. So
there you go.
Then you've got Devil Dinosaur thrown in there at some point. So
I see. Yeah.
I always thought of the Allosaurus as red, and I see when I rewatched Gwangi, I was wrong. But that ties into my concession feature, which is Big Red, which is the cinnamon-flavored chewing gum.
Yep. Big Red.
Big Red. I'll hold off on its true theme song until a little bit later. Introduced by the William Wrigley Company in 1975. So surprisingly, it didn't exist for longer than that because the Wrigley Company has existed since the 1800s.
And they've been around a while.
They started life manufacturing baking powder. And to set themselves apart from their competition in the baking powder business, they gave away a piece of gum with every package. Over time, they became known as the company that gives away the gum, and they made it themselves. So the gum suddenly overshadowed the baking powder, so they figured, hey, let's dump the baking powder and let's get into the gum business, which is what they did. Of course, they also make juicy fruit gum, which is probably far and away their most popular flavor. Yeah. They're one of the first companies to sell synthetic rubber gum. I never knew it was synthetic or rubber.
Synthetic rubber gum? That sounds horrible. It's like chewing on one of those bouncy balls you get out of the vending machine.
Because before, when they were giving away the gum for free, it was chicle-based gum, which is, chiclets, the little crunchy things. That's what their gum used to be, but they were the inventors of the synthetic rubber-based gum, which is the stick of gum.
Which is the stick of gum that we all know today.
Yep. Also, of course, because they were the inventors of it, they were also the inventor of the stick shape. So Wrigley was the first one on the market with that stick shape.
Did they also invent the baseball field?
You would think so. Wrigley Field, right? Maybe it could be. I don't know. It could be the same Wrigley, but I didn't get that far. The aluminum or the foil wrapping on the stick gum didn't come right away. That was years later. So it was always in a paper wrapper, the stick gum. But of course, because it's more convenient, you don't have a bag of chicle gum. Now you've got individually wrapped sticks of gum, which you can carry with you. They're much easier to take about on the go. Big Red, again, was introduced by the company in 1975. Its logo has been pretty much always the same. You can still get it today, although it's more of a... I tried looking for it this weekend in my grocery store, and it's nowhere to be found. So if you were to look at like a...
Five Below, maybe.
A Five Below or someplace that gets into the really deep candy brands, then you're going to find it. But I always was very fond of Big Red because they hit upon this very nice, not too cinnamon flavor. They don't want to kill you or kill your tongue with, a Tabasco cinnamon, something that you can't handle, that, the normal person doesn't want to chew. So they gave us a pared down cinnamon flavor. That doesn't sound very appetizing, but it is very pleasant to chew. And I was saying before that the big success with Big Red started in 1979 with their theme song, which was Kiss a Little Longer. Kiss a little longer, make it last a little longer with Big Red. And there'd always be like teenagers kissing in the commercials.
Yeah, the little kids are like, I don't want that gum. Girls got cooties.
It was a huge deal, Big Red,
was
back in the day.
The fact that you still know that song.
Yeah, I could sing you the whole thing, but I wanted to tread lightly on the copyright there. But
they're watching. Big Red is always watching.
So it's a quick concession today. There's not much story behind Big Red, but I figured, hey, it's very apt and appropriate.
How come they never did a tie-in with Clifford?
That's a wasted opportunity right there. Yeah.
No one wants to chew on synthetic puppy.
Synthetic rubberized gum.
Rubberized puppy gum. Cool.
All right. Let's not snap our gum too loudly in the theater, because we are going into the Valley of Gwangi.
Ooh, 1969, so a couple years before Big Red came out.
And it's funny that this is on the very tail end of the 60s, and it looks like a 50s movie. It's like a Technicolor. It's a period piece, so it's a Western, so it's not tied to its time at all.
I really thought this was black and white. Maybe the only time I've ever seen it was in black and white. But yeah, you're right. This is some bold colors, especially when the gay pirates show up. Oh, I'm sorry, the gypsies.
Yes, it opens with a gypsy curse.
What dinosaur movie doesn't?
I think that they wandered in from the Wolfman movie.
Yeah, as we mentioned, that one-eyed witch. Whatever she says, I'll believe in.
So yes, directed by Jim O'Connelly, produced by Charles H. Schneer, who worked on 12 movies total with Ray Harryhausen. So he was his partner in movie making, and that includes Mysterious Island. It includes the Sinbad movies. It includes Clash of the Titans. So these two made some classics. Yeah.
Filmed in Dynamation. They actually had a name for it. Actually, I think this was the last movie they used that. Then they changed it over to Dinorama or something like that.
So all the marketing, whatever there was, and I'm looking at the movie poster now, played up the cowboys versus dinosaurs. Yeah, and that's basically what this is. This is a cowboys versus dinosaur movie.
Although you got to sit through half of the movie before the dinosaurs actually show up.
Now, I wanted to bring this up because Gwangi was a staple on Saturday afternoon television. I want to go as far as to say that I think Channel 5, Fox, WNEW had the rights to it, and that's where it showed up. But as a kid, I remember being bored out of my mind waiting till the end of this movie.
Yeah, because we didn't care about little tiny horses.
No, even
dinosaurs.
Edited. The Saturday afternoon movie usually was 90 minutes. You had to edit a bunch out to fit the commercials in. Even edited, they couldn't get to the meat fast enough of this movie.
Yeah, there's way too much going on with TJ and Kirby. And actually, right at the beginning of this movie is one of the worst special effects when she takes the horse and jumps into the bucket of water.
Yes, the flaming bucket of water, and suddenly it's a stop motion horse.
What was he like? Omar the Wonder Horse or something? This horse is not getting paid enough. No way in hell I'd jump a horse into a barrel.
So it's the early 20th century. And it's in Mexico, I believe. And this Western Annie Oakley kind of show, which is led by T.J. Breckenridge, is on display in this empty stadium in Mexico, and nobody cares about her.
And they have an elephant. I'm like, yeah, because I remember all those wild elephants roaming the Midwest. It's like, okay.
This Lausch kind of rascal played by James Franciscus, who we genre fans know best from the sequel to Planet of the Apes, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, as the astronaut who comes looking for Taylor.
Beneath Taylor.
Yes, and he is tanned. His teeth are white and gleaming. His hair is done.
Smarmy. He is smarmed to the gills.
He's got his bolo tie.
Yeah.
So he's there. He is T.J. Breckenridge's. So she's the Annie Oakley, remember. He's her ex-boyfriend. And he comes back into town. And what does he want? He wants to buy her show? Wasn't quite sure what he was looking for.
Apparently he was looking for something to bring back to Buffalo Bill.
Oh, he wants her horse, the Wonder Horse. Yes, that's what he was trying to buy. The horse that jumps
into the pool of water.
There's a hidden valley adjacent to this town in Mexico where TJ has her Western show. A couple of entrepreneurs sneak their way into the valley and steal a little mini horse, which
he looks like a capybara.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, and his name is El Diablo.
Eophippus, I think, is what I don't know if this thing is real or not, or if it's based in reality.
Oh, I don't know. The crazy old paleontologist refers to it as a Dorn horse. I said, wasn't he on Far Out Space Nuts?
But no, this is a real thing. I'm looking it up right now.
Okay, all right.
Eophippus, I think it is. I don't know how you pronounce this, but it is an actual miniature horse that has gone extinct, but it lives in this valley. So these guys risk their lives to bring it out of the valley and bring it to TJ's show for a price. One of the guys is mauled by something that you don't see.
Oh, at the beginning, yeah. You see the little horse in the bag.
So TJ doesn't want anything to do with James Franciscus Tuck or wants to sell him her horse because she's got this thing that she is going to blow the roof off of audiences everywhere with this tiny little horse. Well, she
should have just sold him the other horse.
Yeah.
And just said, here's my new venture. Because she did seem pretty shrewd business person. She was like, I got this going.
I can picture Like in this Forbidden Valley, James Franciscus landing as an astronaut looking for Taylor. And suddenly out of the bushes, horses. Instead of apes on horseback, it's like Smurfs on horseback. And you hear like, burner, burner.
Ganap, ganap, ganap. They're all purple.
It's a human. It's a human. Get him. Get him. Yeah, no wonder Gargamel has such bad feelings towards these things.
Oh, he wanted to eat them.
There's also an archaeologist, like an old drunken...
Oh, I love this guy.
Goofy archaeologist that comes into the mix.
Bromley? Professor Bromley?
Professor Bromley.
Oh, and he had those old school mutton... not even mutton chops, but like a beard that went down to like just his chin, but there was no hair on his chin.
Yeah, and so pure he's white. Got gleaming white teeth as well.
Yeah, you look like a crazy professor from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
And lest we forget Lupe, who was the little kid that befriends James Franciscus.
This kid was actually a pretty shrewd businessman as well.
Yeah. So they work out that, hey, if there's this mini horse, this prehistoric mini horse is in this valley, then there's got to be other things as well that are worth.
We never saw any more of those horses, though.
No. And once they let the horse loose, that's it.
That's it. It's gone. That's it. He's gone. I'm pretty sure Gwangi ate him as he came back into the valley.
Yeah. And of course, the gypsies are warning off everybody. No. You cannot go into this valley. You'll curse us all.
It's called the Forbidden Valley for a reason.
Yeah.
And of course, Tuck is just like, superstitious hocus pocus.
Yes.
I'm not buying it. I'm not falling for it.
So Tuck has got these grandiose visions of getting more of these little horses or whatever he can find and selling it to Barnum and Bailey. Meanwhile, Professor Bromley is thinking about, winning the Nobel Peace Prize or whatever else archaeologists aspire to.
I don't know what his aspirations were. Yeah. He was just out there in the desert.
So this may sound like a very simple setup. This goes on for about 45 minutes of just people.
And then they meet the gypsies. And at one point, there's a belly dancer. And I'm like, oh, Lupe just reached manhood, man, watching this. I don't know what's going on. Carlos is all upset because Kirby's back in the picture.
Yeah, because Carlos is TJ's assistant that apparently wants to get into her pants himself and is a little bit jealous at James
I did like
Franciscus.
the fact that he was dressed like the sheriff from Rock Ridge. Blazing Saddles.
Saddles.
And the red shirt. Okay.
They finally, after 45 minutes of foreplay, make their way to the Forbidden Valley. So
that's because the professor lets the gypsies kidnap the little baby horse so that he could follow them back into the Forbidden Valley.
Yes, because they need to find out where it is, and the gypsies won't tell.
Yeah, because the crazy old lady with one eye was like, "I'm not telling you. All right, we'll trick you into.
We'll give you the horse. You're going to bring it back there, and we're going to follow you when they go back." So they finally get to the valley. Again, we've already gotten some stop motion horse action, but no stop motion dinosaur action as of yet.
Nope.
But that changes as soon as we get to the valley because they're attacked by a pterodon, whatever.
He didn't have a tail, so I guess he would not be a pterodactyl. He'd be a pterodon.
Which is great because they actually make a full size.
Oh, just so the guy can snap its neck
after they kill it. Yeah. So I'm like, I want to see more of that thing. That was a really nice life-size model. So, but just like any other Ray Harryhausen movies, when the dinosaurs come, it's like, a full shot. So it's like the camera's back. So you can see his whole, the foundation of where Harryhausen is working. And it's a superimposed little man, or sometimes it's a stop motion little man that comes and gets taken. But in Lupe's case, when he gets carried away.
Oh, yeah.
They do show some scenes of the little actor, like
with full feet.
So they end up saving Lupe, killing the pterodon, and then you see this great full-size body of like the cowboy on top of it and breaking its neck.
Beating the crap out of it.
Yeah. Move it around. Pretend it's alive.
Correct. Yeah. It's still attacking me.
And this is when Gwangi shows up.
Yes.
Because they are chasing a little one of those gallimimuses, maybe, and.
Yeah, I was going to say an oviraptor, a gallimimus.
Yeah.
And again, it's a straight out of Jurassic Park where he goes around the corner and all of a sudden here comes Gwangi out of nowhere and just snatches him up.
Yeah. And all these dinosaurs are purple, bright, vivid purple, by the way.
Yeah. Well, they got to pop against the backdrop because there's a lot of plates, especially when they try and lasso this thing. It's actually pretty well done. You think about this guy's working in a studio somewhere, just, stop motion little animal, one little inch at a time. And these guys are out there filming. They're just lassoing onto a big stick and hoping like hell that the dinosaur covers it.
Right.
And then it looks, especially on the big screen.
Yeah.
If it holds up. But you're right. This at one point they're all holed up in this little cave up on the top floor. And the T-Rex here, the Allosaur can't reach him. And I'm like, yeah, this is Land of the Lost. This is where they got it from.
And they're jabbing him with sticks as he's snapping. And every time he snaps, you hear it. He snaps his jaws.
I was waiting for Chaka and Dopey to show up.
But what do they call the little Gallimimus that they're chasing? Oh, it looks like a plucked ostrich. Let's get it for the show.
Ostrich, yeah. And then we get a Styracosaurus, although somebody calls it a Tyrannosaurus.
Really? They did?
I thought that's exactly what he called it. It's a Tyrannosaurus. I'm like, no, you're not. You're wrong.
But it's like a Triceratops sort of creature, but with horns. With extra.
Horns, yeah.
So it has a couple of different fights with the Allosaur, and eventually goes down to it. And the Allosaur is very cagey around this thing because he probably has been bitten before.
Like you said, that the snapping of those jaws are like steel traps, and then he starts ripping into. You hear the bone crunching. You're like, wow, somebody had fun.
But the Styracosaur is also purple. So it leads me to believe this has got to be one of Prince's favorite movies when
Purple Dino.
And once Gwangi gets killed at the end, he's probably does the licks his tongue and then makes the tear down his face. Oh.
I did like the fact this professor, he gave us a Great Scott and a By George.
Yes, he did.
Great Scott, by George.
Decades before Back to the Future.
Yes.
Immediately, they're thinking, let's bring this back. That's why they're doing this. And I'm thinking to myself, how are they going to get this thing back?
Yes, I said the same thing because they actually had to shimmy through this friggin' crevasse in order to get to the new valley, pull a rock out just to get the horses in there. I'm like, this thing's never going to fit through there.
During the battle with the cowboys and the lassos, one of them is shooting at it. Rowdy, you brought blanks. And what am I supposed to know?
Show. Yeah.
Idiot. And there's there's like a throwaway line in here. You can't tell a friend from an enemy, you cockeyed female. Doesn't Tuck say that? He says that to TJ at one point.
No wonder why she dubbed his ass. This guy's a jerk. He's like full on Carl Denham now. He's like, oh, we're going to bring this back. Eighth wonder of the world, baby. It's going to eat you all.
This is probably as good a time as any to bring this up, is that this story was established by Willis O'Brien, who was behind King Kong and Ray Harryhausen's mentor in terms of stop motion. So Willis O'Brien had this story, The Valley of Gwangi, but and was looking to get it made as early as the early 1940s. But apparently polls were done and audiences were not interested in dinosaur movies at this time. So the movie never got off the ground. This is Harryhausen kind of picking up the mantle from his mentor, from his hero, Willis O'Brien. And there's a lot said here. A lot of the reviews at the time said it's just like a King Kong ripoff. And that's fair. Sure. Because it is.
It is. Like I said, he's, at this point, Kirby's just Carl Denham.
Yeah.
Let's bring it back. Let's make some money.
Bring it back. Let's put it on a show.
Put it in the cage. Yeah.
But the only thing different is it's in the Old West with cowboys.
Broke loose. A little sabotage, but
yeah. Now this is funny. They make their way out of the little cave again. The survivors, the cowboy survivors. The Allosaurus is coming right after them in the cave and gets stuck and can't get out. And then suddenly all the rocks come down because he's trying to get through the cave, knocks him out. And you can tell it's a model that just like falls over. And,
But the weird thing is that next thing you know, you see them, they've erected this giant cage with wheels and have him all hogtied. And I'm like, was he unconscious that long? It was like
for you to build this thing?
Yes, no, it was very impressive.
Yeah, to sand down like trees to make those wheels?
Right. It was pretty. Something right out of the Flintstones.
Yeah.
So, but the old lady called it. She knew.
But they come across her.
Kill her. Yeah, that's right. She's like, I knew it, just like his brother Miguel.
Yep. And she's got like the little person sidekick with her, the old gypsy lady. You are doomed. And the professor's like, balderdash woman.
So we send a little, the bite-sized gay pirate gypsy into sabotage.
All he was missing was the knife in his teeth. So now everything is fast forward because they get the dinosaur back and suddenly the next scene is the show is starting.
Yeah.
They have, Gwangi banners everywhere. Gwangi the Great. Gwangi's in a cage in the middle of the stadium, but there's a big curtain around it so you can't see it yet. They don't want that.
Reveal.
So now the old lady gets her little sidekick in, and their plan, I guess, is to open the gate and have Gwangi go to town on everybody in the stadium, thus fulfilling her prophecy. So this is truly a self-fulfilling prophecy on her part.
I told you. Wait a minute. That's not how it works.
So the little guy gets under the curtain, and he is unlocking the cage, and he just makes himself a little bit too accessible to Gwangi because
this is a great reveal, right? They pull up the curtain, and he's already in the guy's mouth.
And screaming.
I was like, wow, that's a hell of a show right there.
And I loved the way that they lift the curtain with a hot air balloon, with the Gwangi written on the hot air balloon. And this poor Dumbo elephant, even if it's stop motion, you still feel so bad for this thing.
So you talked about the fact that watching this on TV, sometimes it was edited down.
Yeah.
This scene for a lot of screenings gets cut out because they say it's actually animal abuse. It's not a real elephant. But apparently it's traumatic enough that a lot of these screenings cut it. I'm like, imagine sitting all the way through this movie and not getting this fight scene. I'd be very upset.
I do remember it. So they didn't cut this when I saw it on TV.
Yeah, I think it was more for like foreign screenings. People probably actually had elephants for pets and shit. And they're just like, oh, yeah.
But the elephant already wants to get the hell out of there, even before it's out of its cage, because it knows that there's something in there. Although I would have liked to have seen the elephant get some better licks in than he did. A couple of head down rams right into the stomach of Gwangi.
He was done dirty. He was taken out too quick.
Gwangi's loose. Get some rifles. Cage door kills the professor. So for all of his ambition, he is punished.
Professor's down.
Yeah. Just like, what's his name from King Kong, Charles Grodin. Gwangi kills poor elephant, chomps on a few people, leaves the stadium, chases all the people there, all running into the church.
Yeah, this is some weird commentary right here.
He follows him right in, but there's a back door. Everybody runs out the back door of the church, so now they can lock Gwangi in.
They should have just put him in a confessional. And then I ate that little horse. And then I ate another little horse. And then I ate Carlos.
So all we have now is James Franciscus and TJ in the church alone with Gwangi.
Lupe's in there.
Lupe's in there, yes.
Lupe's in there. In his Sunday best, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's Tuck. James Franciscus manages to grab like a flag and uses it as a spear.
Oh my! He gets friggin' shish kebabbed right in the temple.
Yeah.
Flagpole to the temple.
Yeah, lots of blood pouring out of these stop motion.
I'm going to tell you right now, I don't remember this scene at all.
Really?
I do remember the lassoing in the desert scene, but this is I was shocked when he ended up in church. I was like, wow.
As they're running out, he's already stabbed Gwangi in the head. He throws a big pot of fire at him. There's like a huge kettle that's on fire.
Dump the holy water on
him. Which sets the church on fire.
This church made of rock, but very flammable.
Yes.
Because it ignites. It goes up.
It ignites and then it implodes upon itself.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, church barbecue next week is lit. I like my Gwangi extra crispy. These people are going to be eating for a week.
All the stone of the church implodes and lands on Gwangi, and Lupe sheds a tear.
Lupe was sad because he had to put on a Sunday best for this. He didn't get to church.
But it is a sad ending. Even though I was sad for the elephant, I was also sad for Gwangi, just like Kong.
Gwangi just wanted to be left alone, right?
Yeah.
Just leave me alone. I live in the Forbidden Valley for a reason.
Yep.
I don't like you people. Leave me alone. Why don't you go back to those little horses? Deal with them.
So Charles Schneer, who I mentioned before as being Ray Harryhausen's production partner on these movies, said that Gwangi was easily the least of the movies that they did together.
Oh.
which is, I think, doing it dirty. But maybe there's a point there if you compare this to a Mysterious Island or a Clash of the Titans, right?
No, yeah.
Warner Brothers didn't have much faith in it either. Harryhausen says that brass at Warner Brothers changed hands while they were making the movie. So once the movie was done, they threw it out into the marketplace with no advertising whatsoever. It was a co-feature with a biker picture.
Oh, my.
So it lost its audience. Harryhausen had a much more favorable view of Gwangi than Schneer did. He said that if only it had been advertised, it would have found its audience and it would have been a bigger hit, but it was not a hit. It just disappeared in the theaters when it was released.
It's a true work of art.
It is. You know, it's always nice to see Harryhausen's work on screen.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that you streamed it.
I did, yes.
Yeah, that was the only way I could find it, was on Amazon.
And it's nice. It's that the Technicolor is just so crisp and clean.
It was pretty crisp. Oh, that's the one thing I wanted to mention about Rebirth. It was shot on film, so it definitely had a grain to it. It did not look like super, super high definition. That was an interesting choice.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this was an apt pairing, I will say, because I enjoyed this watching Gwangi.
Yeah. Buckets wise, I would probably give Gwangi 3 solid buckets out of 5. It would probably be more. It would be more if they just got to the good stuff a little bit earlier.
I know. There's only so much time allotted for making dinosaurs. We get spoiled by Harryhausen. Yeah, I give it 3 as well.
Yeah.
It was a lot to get to that point, and it seemed very convoluted to a certain extent. It's just get there.
Yeah, much more than it needed to be.
I don't need all the machinations of love interest and why Kirby didn't want to be tied down, hog-tied in a wedding, married. TJ was smart to dump his ass.
So we are dumping him as well because we're moving on to what else we did this week.
So there are many weeks where I do absolutely nothing, and then there's times where I spend a solid month, and I on vacation. I had some free time, a little bit of free time.
Nice.
So I'm gonna mention 2 things. I think it's on Max. Pee-wee as himself.
Yes.
It's a
documentary.
2-part doc. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. The amount of back photos in history of Paul Rubens before he latched on to this persona, I knew nothing of. I was absolutely enthralled, and it's intercut with live footage. It took how many months were they filming this thing before he passed away? But very confrontational with the director. He really felt that he should have been in charge of directing this. So if you're a Pee Wee Herman fan, I highly recommend seeking this out because I enjoyed it immensely.
Do they show footage from the movies in the Pee Wee's Playhouse?
Oh, absolutely. Like they go extensively into Pee Wee's Playhouse.
Okay.
As well as the movie itself and, the repercussions from it. And a lot of, like I said, a lot of footage of him and some of these early comedy troupes. He took himself very seriously. Interesting. He lost the gig at Saturday Night Live to Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh, when they rebooted the original cast.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. Again, there's a lot of stuff in there that I knew nothing of. And they get into the, the arrests and all the stuff he had to deal with on that end. Right up to his footage when he showed back up on MTV Movie Awards and stuff like that. So that was good. But I also want to bring this up because I actually read a book, and I want to go on record as saying I read a book from beginning to end. And I should get credit somewhere, somehow. So this book has been highly recommended to me. I reserved it at my library months ago. There were 6 people in front of me. It became available 2 days before I went on vacation. So I actually took this novel with me and I read it on vacation. And I came home and it was due and I couldn't renew it. And I still had 12 chapters. So I had to power read the last 12 chapters.
Usually if you go in person to return it and at the desk, can you renew this for me? They'll do it for you. They'll return it, and then they'll
I didn't want to
put it
take
back
that
out to
chance
you.
though, because like I said, there was only one copy in my entire library system, and there was a fair amount of people in front of me, so I'm assuming that there's other people behind me that were waiting to read it. So I didn't want to. I was too cheap to pay $30 for a novel that 2 chapters in I might have been bored with. But anyways, the book I'm talking about is a Dungeon Crawler Carl. And this came highly recommended to me, written by a Matt Dinneman. Are you familiar with this book at all?
No, I am not.
Okay. Very cinematic. And I don't want to bore you with a lot of the details. So the premise is that Carl and his girlfriend's show cat, Princess Donut, survive an alien annihilation of the planet. Basically, anybody that is indoors is instantly smushed. But these aliens have come to Earth to transform it into a Survivor-style TV show, where suddenly he's an unwitting participant on this video game / TV show that aliens across the world are watching. And just like a video game, you can find loot boxes, you can level up. You have to fight bosses. You have X amount of time to reach a new level. And every level has different bosses and monsters. And of course, as we find out, it's always the humans that are, the survivors are the more dangerous ones. But I found this very entertaining. It's a very inside video game. There's a lot of video game type references with loot boxes and stuff like that and prizes. But the aliens that are controlling this have a very wacky sense of humor. And I'm going to put it like in the Douglas Adams Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy feel.
Okay.
So very cinematic. The first book ends on a cliffhanger. He's barely through level 3. So I'm assuming that the other books just keep progressing.
Right.
So, but Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Very entertaining. Oh, I forgot to mention that Princess Donut, actually the cat, levels up and can talk, and is the star of the show.
Really?
Yeah, he actually gets relegated as the handler of Princess Donut, and Princess Donut has acquired like persuasion and charm levels that anybody she talks to, she can talk into doing stuff.
Well, this is not far from reality if you were a cat owner of any means.
Oh, this cat's got an attitude.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yes. If you own a cat, you'll appreciate it even more so. So.
All right. So for me, I'm not prepared to talk about anything I've watched because I'm still in the middle of various TV shows. So we're not going there yet. Andor is one I'm not
still
finished.
Watching.
Still watching. I want to really.
I'm going to have to go back and rewatch it by the time we talk.
I know. I want to savor it. So I'm going slowly through it. It's so good. But I do want to mention that I have engaged in a new social platform, Blue Sky. We used to be on X, formerly Twitter. We had over 1,000 followers on that platform. But whenever I would post something about anything, a new episode or something fun, anything that I fancied, nothing. It was just like throwing something out into the void, much like this show. But
still the same audience.
So after a while, though, because when you get that many followers, it's because that you followed people. So they do things. Correct. Scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Yep.
So I started to see a lot of negativity with all the people that I was following. You name it. Stuff that I didn't want to see.
Yep.
So I quit the platform. It's actually, the account is still there, but only for reference and archive purposes. So I went over to Blue Sky, which is very similar to X. We now have 140 followers, but I can tell you those 140 are so much better than the 1,000 that we had on X.
They're actually engaging.
I've been engaging. People pay attention to each other, and I'm much more selective about who to follow so we don't get all that noise on our feed. So I highly recommend, if you enjoyed this show, going to Blue Sky and checking out the feed there, because it's not just our episodes. I post a bunch of hopefully interesting things. It is at tmimoviepodcast.bsky.social. Again, that's at tmimoviepodcast.bsky.social, which is our Blue Sky handle.
Cool.
Before we leave the subject, since we just did this episode featuring Jurassic World and the Valley of Gwangi, let me just reach out to our follower, and of course we follow him as well, Mac Bell at wackyworld.bsky.social.
Wacky World.
He actually posted a couple of weeks ago about the Valley of Gwangi, and we started a little bit of a discussion. I said, we're doing an episode pretty soon. He said, let me know when you do it, and I'll listen. So
cool.
This one is for you, Mac Bell.
And thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you for listening.
Appreciate
An author
that.
in his own right. You can look him up. He writes the Adventure Ace books. There might be just one at the moment, but Valley of the Giant Snakes. And you can find this on Amazon.
I'm out. Sorry. Snakes.
Looks like a kid's book, so it should be friendly to you.
So they're cartoon snakes? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
They are.
Still snakes. Okay.
So what are we doing next time?
Wow, what are we doing? This has been well over a year in the making. We talked about this. They started filming last year, and now it's dropping next week.
Yeah. Dun, 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 Superman.
James Gunn. I'm nervous. James Gunn Superman.
I think it looks really good. The only thing I'm nervous about is there being too many characters, too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is his official DCU reboot. So you got to kind of throw them into the pot to establish that they're there. I am going to go out on a limb, and I said this before, that most of these characters are probably going to show up in some opening attack sequence, fighting some big bad guy or whatever, and they all have to join together. And then you may not see them again. They may get referenced, but then I could be completely wrong, because James Gunn does love his ensemble casts.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
And he does that stuff very well.
But this guy just looks from the trailers to be pitch perfect as Superman.
Yeah, I did see that he was he'd gone out on a limb and reached out to Henry Cavill and asking for advice, and neither one of them wanted to give him anything. They're like, don't listen to us.
Yeah, not because they're jerks, just because do your own thing.
Make it your own.
Yeah.
Make it your own. Christopher Reeves was still around. Yeah, I'd be picking up the phone calling this guy.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, did you see that James Gunn has pointed out that in comic continuity, Clark Kent wears hypno glasses, and that's why people do not recognize him as Superman.
What are hypno glasses?
That they hypnotize people into seeing him as something other than what he is.
Oh, no.
And I guess that is
retrofit?
Apparently that is canon somewhere in the 100 years of Superman comics. So we always joke, he puts his glasses on. Clark, you just missed Superman. He was just there.
Yeah, what are you doing wearing a Superman outfit?
Correct. You look ridiculous, Clark. Take that off. You're embarrassing me. So we'll see. I mean, one more week. We'll find out. July's a big month here.
It is.
For nerds.
Fantastic Four soon after.
Fantastic Four is right after.
But next episode will be about Superman, DC, because we are covering another DC character.
Early pre-DC. I mean, this is long before the DCEU existed, but we have your girlfriend in here.
Adrienne Barbeau. Now, this is a classic of the early 80s as well. One of the earliest comic book movies. Again, it doesn't predate Superman with Christopher Reeve.
No,
but
this is early 80s,
one.
Though.
This is an early one.
82? Yep,
82.
82. Okay.
You are correct.
Oh,
Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing. Not to be confused with Return of Swamp Thing with Heather Locklear.
This is
the original Swamp Thing, which apparently is not at my library. So we will be watching this on either Prime. It doesn't even look like it's on Max.
No,
I thought they owned all those Warner Brother
all
DC
that stuff
movies.
should be on Max. I think this is actually an MGM. I don't think it's a Warner Brothers movie.
I think it's on Tubi as well. If you wanted to sit through the commercials, I'm going to tell you right now, it has been so long since I've seen this movie. I couldn't tell you anything about it.
Well, it was a big HBO movie, so they would show it all the time. So I know it very well.
Okay, cool.
All right.
So there you go. Superman Swamp Thing.
Yes.
Woo! Crazy.
So it's good to be back to our normal format.
Yes, it is. Yes. Thank you for indulging us on vacation and our 5 buckets that we threw out there.
Yes. Jeff, always a pleasure.
Jim, as always, watch out for Snickers wrappers and mutant dinosaurs, I guess.
Yeah. And little henchman as well.
Little gay pirate henchman. Like I said, he was bite-sized.
Yes,
he just fit into Gwangi's mouth perfectly. It's like, he's a fun size.
Yeah, Gwangi's like, I like this.
Yeah. All right, thanks for listening.
All right, bye.
All right, bye.
If you like what you just heard, be sure to follow TMI Confessionals of the Nerd Kind on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify, or whatever you listen to your podcasts on. Also, be sure to email us at tmipodcast2018@gmail.com.
You can also follow us on all of our socials. We're on Instagram, X, Facebook, Threads. Just go to tmiconfessionalspodcast.com. All of our links are there. And leave us a 5-star review. See you at the concession stand. Oh, no. What was that motorcycle movie? We talk like this. Gnap, gnap.